off the bench, through the window, over the rafter, nothing but net. Matt Damon stars in Ben Affleck's sports movie about the race to sign the greatest basketball player ever to a shoe deal for Nike. Air tells the story of the athlete most know, Michael Jordan, but does the behind-the-scenes tale score? Air reveals the unbelievable game-changing partnership between a then-rookie Michael Jordan and Nike's fledgling basketball division, which revolutionized the world of sports and contemporary culture with the Air Jordan brand. So this stars Matt Damon, Jason Bateman, Viola Davis, Messina, Chris Tucker, Ben Affleck, Matthew Maher, and Marlon Wayans. And then it's also directed by Ben Affleck. Now, even though this is centered around Michael Jordan, it's not really his story. This instead looks at how a world-class running shoe company with a very struggling basketball division put all their bets on one player, even before he became a star player for the NBA. Now, because we live in the present, it's not so secret that Air Jordans are some of the most sought-after shoes. But what's surprising is that the movie is still able to create an air of suspense and tension when it comes to crafting the narrative on whether or not Jordan will actually sign with Nike or if he's going to go with one of the other leading brands at the time. There really was a moment almost towards the end as Matt Damon and Viola Davis are speaking on the phone where I felt uncertain about the outcome, even though I knew the outcome. I appreciate the suspense that's created and then how it's executed. Now, the acting in this is wonderful to watch. First, Matt Damon, he's as charismatic as always, building out a persona that we want to follow and root for. Now, sure, he does have flaws, but his earnestness and determination, they're infectious and engaging. And his dry sarcasm and comedic timing make for some smirk-worthy interactions. He's never attempting to go for a massive laugh, just creating a natural delivery that feels effortless within the scenes. Jason Bateman is outstanding because he's not his typical sarcastic self. He's very reined in and reserved. Now, there is some sarcasm that he brings to the character, but he's playing them without the comedic bravado that usually accompanies a lot of his performances. Viola Davis is awesome, and she brings a lot of strength and heart to the story. Now, as Jordan's mom, she is consistently looking out for her son's well-being, but she's also savvy and smart. And there are times where she conveys a ton of meaning through just some looks, rather than having to rely on dialogue, and I thought it came through loud and clear. Now, probably my favorite performance in this, especially when paired with Matt Damon, was Messina. He plays Jordan's agent, and he is perfect for the role. He is the right mix of arrogance, hubris, greed, drive, and obsession. And there are a couple of phone conversations that he and Damon have where the exchanges are heated, just to say the least. But the emotion that's captured in these felt so explosive and almost dangerous. Messina was like 1 second away from reaching through the phone and strangling Damon. And that emotion was palpable and very convincing. And it made me laugh also because they trade barbs back and forth that are witty as well as biting, making for an intense and charged scene. And most of the film is shot well, and I appreciate the archival footage that's interspersed at key moments that really highlights a plot point. But there was one exchange that I felt like the camera person was practicing their shot, and that's what ended up staying in the movie. Matt Damon is having a conversation with Marlon Wayans at a bar, and I absolutely love their exchange and the story that's being shared. I even like what the camera angles are attempting to do as they focus on each character's face we have one in the background and one in the foreground, and they just keep alternating focus. But the focus, it kept shifting at odd times, sometimes even zooming in weirdly, and then it was struggling to find the focus a couple of times. I know this isn't some massive problem, but it was a bit distracting for me, especially because I was really enjoying the interaction. Now, the scene stood out to me for all the wrong reasons, because the rest of the movie, it didn't have these focus issues. Now, if it doesn't bother you while you're watching, that's awesome, because, the story that Wayans is telling, it's a great one. But if it does distract you, just close your eyes for a moment and simply just listen to the two men talk. Now, it's crazy how such a simple story can be stretched and told in an engaging and intriguing way without feeling like it's long and drawn out. And I appreciate some of the insight that we get through character interactions, helping to build out what was really on the line if Nike couldn't land the deal. The conversation between Bateman and Damon starts off all cheery and light, and then it transitions into something very emotional and real. But all through this, it's underscoring what was at stake for them all. There are also some moments where Damon and Bateman are talking with Matthew Maher, who plays the shoe designer. And the passion that Maher exudes as the character, he was just awesome to watch. We're watching this artist being commissioned for a piece of work and getting small insights into how he goes about it, hearing the pertinent thoughts that are going to mold the designs into the first pair of Jordans. And really, my main point of bringing up these scenes, not only to just highlight some of the great moments, but also just to point out how the details really help to craft a compelling story and not have a movie that drags on and on. Now, this is just short of 2 hours, and I never really felt the time. Now, I did get a bit impatient towards the end because I knew what was going to happen, at least peripherally, so I was excited to see the payoff. But the drama that builds creates a great climax, and also a feeling of elation and success, which I think is a wonderful way to wrap up the story. I love the inspiration and optimism that's created. While the movie may not be one that I constantly want to revisit, watching the cast interact and tell the story of how sports sponsorships were changed forever, I think is an awesome way to spend 2 hours, led by a very charismatic performance by Matt Damon. So overall, Ben Affleck goes for a half-court buzzer beater and hits nothing but net with air. The cast shines with stand-up performances from Damon, Messina, and Davis, and the narrative is crafted into a compelling drama with Affleck at the helm. Despite a few wonkily shot scenes, the movie convincingly captures the aesthetics of the mid-'80s, transporting viewers back in time in an effective manner. And while the general story may not be a surprise, the story captures the drive, determination, and suspense of the pursuit to sign the man who would become the greatest basketball player of all time, and create an indomitable brand in the process. There's no sex or nudity, a lot of profanity, and no violence. I give Air 4.5 out of 5 couches. So what's your favorite Matt Damon or Ben Affleck movie? Now, I regularly watch Ford v Ferrari and The Martian, but I'd love to hear your favorites in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.